Good evening, Dharma friends. Wish you all the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem for this moment and also throughout the hours and days and months you are going to live. May you be able to cultivate Sila Samadhi and Panya with the basis of noble truth that you develop and also the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem. That is our wish for you and those friends who join with us from here. I say good evening, and I know that some friends join from Sri Lanka, and perhaps if somebody watch us from different time zone, I wish you greeting and may you all be well, happy, and peaceful. Let us begin today's Sutta studies. Before that, it is our duty and also our practice to pay our respect to the Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times in Pali and in English. So let's do that to begin the Sutta study class for today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Okay, friends. The sutta we selected for today's discussion is from Majjhima Nikaya, and it is Sutta number 140, Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. One of our friends who joined with us this sutta study class, Mr. Vimal from Sri Lanka, suggested this sutta for us to take as the theme discourse of our discussion today. And it is a really interesting discourse. And of course, it is a very deep and very analytical discourse about our mind and body, so that I think everybody enjoys the Dharma in the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. This sutta is really nice when we look at its background story, and also the story in the sutta is also really interesting. And the Dharma that the Buddha explained in this discourse by the name of Dhatu Vibhanga, the analysis of elements, is very practical, and the way the Buddha explained them is easy to understand. So that I think the friends who have been diving in the Dharma in different lens could really enjoy this sutta and benefit from it for their Sila Samadhi and Panya development. So I'm happy that I'm doing this, but I'm not sure how far I could go with this because of a lot of barriers we have, like language is a barrier for us to go into the Dhamma. Because by language we cannot explain all aspects of the Dhamma. Even if you engage with Dhamma discussion for hours and hours, in my understanding, you could taste the Dhamma 10%, 15%, or little more than that. 80% or 70% of the Dhamma could be experienced by the individual who follow the Dhamma. So through discussion, even if the Buddha were here, you may know some sense of Dharma, but it is us to experience it fully through our own experience. That is why I was saying that I doubt that I could feed you with everything, and anybody who contribute with discussion may be speaking the Dharma as the way they experience it, and I would be explaining Dharma the way I experience it. However, it may not be the full Dhamma that this kind of suttas explain to us. That is a kind of message to everyone. So anyway, let's try into understand the sutta elements or the dharma elements of the sutta without going into assumption. So friends, as I told you, this sutta is really interesting when we look at the story of the sutta. As you see, the Buddha was wandering in the Magadha, one of the famous countries at the time of the Buddha. It is said that he finally came to a place in Magadha, and the place is called Potter Bhagava's place. So he was a potter who made all kinds of pots and anything made by clay, and it is a huge industry in India even now. So there were places like that they welcomed mendicants and any person who passed by. If that is the end of the day, they were allowed to come and stay. So the Buddha was inquiring whether I can wait here overnight, and then the Potter Bhagava said that I don't mind, but there is a mendicant who came first and he's residing over there, and if he likes, I don't mind, you can stay there. That's the simple answer from Potter Bhagava. So now the commentary is giving us a really interesting story. It is not in the sutta. Buddha knew that Pukkusati, the very person who is in front of the Buddha in the discourse, ordained in the name of the Buddha couple of weeks ago. It is said that Pukkusati was a king of a country in West Pakistan in today's geography, and he came to know about the Buddha through traders, through Silk Road or whatever roads at that time they used. People who work in a trade industry went from east to west and west to east with all kinds of important items, and we came to know this happened in Jataka stories too, and other stories in not only in Buddhism but in Brahmanism and Christianity and Islam. We can find those stories very much. So basically, traders from Magadha and Kosala went to that far with goods they prepared in their country, so that the message of the Buddha about peace, life, nirvana was traveling each corner of the Indian subcontinent, even to Greece. And as a result, Pukkusati, the king of that country, came to know about the Buddha. It is said in the commentary that whenever King Pukkusati heard about the Buddha, he got kind of click on it. Wow feeling came to King Pukkusati as soon as he heard about the Buddha and Dharma and Sangha, not in details, but just mere about the Buddha and the Dharma and Sangha. So then, as a result, the king of Magadha, Bimbisara, was a Buddhist. And of course, according to the stories available, he was a Sotapanna. So through him, the king of the king Pukkusati get to know about the Buddha. Anyway, once King Pukkusati sent a gift, token of appreciation to the king of the Magadha, and they were very valuable, clothes like kasi salu. And then the king of the Magadha did not have any valuable thing to give back to King Pokusati. Then he thought that I should write down about the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha and the five precepts and some more important elements of venerations in golden plated, golden plates, and then send them to King Pokusati. So that was the sharing of gift between King of the Magadha and also that country in the west. So as a result, the King Pokusati decided that I should become a follower of the Buddha, not just like a layperson. I should give up the whole country and the kinship and should find the way out of suffering. Then he was marching towards the east. Once he came to know that the Buddha was in Savatthi, and then he came to know that Buddha is in Rajgiri. So anyway, he was walking down from the west to east looking for Buddha. The Buddha knew this early, so that he was going to welcome Pukkusati because there is a reason. Actually, this sutta is a great sutta of how a student recognizes his teacher through the teaching. We all know the statement of the Buddha, Imaya Dhammanudhamma Patipatya Buddham Pujemi Dhammam Pujemi Sangam Pujemi. Through the practice of Dharma, we are going to know who the Buddha is and what the Dharma is and who are the Sangha is. So this sutta tells us how should a good disciple, an eminent disciple, recognize his teacher. You came to know, if you read the sutta, that Pukkusati came to know about the Buddha through his teaching. In the middle of in the first part of the sutta, we have the statement that the Buddha asked, do you recognize the Buddha if you see him? No, I cannot recognize the Buddha by his physical characteristic. Have you met him? No, I do not have any clue about the Buddha. So being the Buddha in front of Bhikkhu, he was unable to understand. Then the Buddha himself asked question, can you recognize the Buddha if you see him? No, I don't know anything about. So anyway, throughout the first couple of statement of the Buddha about the normal person and what consists of normal person, the Pukkusati came to know about that I am sitting in front of my teacher, in front of that supreme teacher. So commentary says that Pukkusati came to know about the Buddha after few minutes of the Buddha's explanation about dhatu or elements, but he was in silence just to confirm and also to listen to more. That's what the commentary says. Anyway, why this happened? Because the commentary again says that Pukkusati was ready for this kind of quick learning experience and also great interest to the Dharma by leaving the kingship because of his sansaric Dharma experience. At the time of Buddha Kassapa, 7 friends understood that the Dharma of the Buddha Kassapa is going to end because everything is impermanent, even the Dharma, even the Gautam Buddha's teaching could be away from humans' mind and other living beings' mind at some point of time, like the previous Buddhas. So at the time when the teaching of the Buddha Kassapa is going to disappear from human mind, 7 young people thought that how unfortunate it is. If we do not strive now to understand the Dharma, it is a waste of time. So they decided to go to a forest area and found out a huge rock, and they climbed it through a ladder, and throw the ladder away so that they could not, climb down of it, and meditated unto death. After several days of meditation, the senior of the seven got full enlightenment with a lot of psychic powers, and he went on Pindapata through psychic power. Like you have to come down from the huge mountain in order to get food, and he did that and delivered those food to other six, but nobody agreed to accept because there was no such agreement before they started the process. Then six of the other six friends started meditation, and one got into non-return position, and he also got psychic powers and powers who could powers for him to travel in the sky and do some miracles. So he also went on Pindapath and got some food, but the other five did not agree to accept it because of the promise they had. So what happened at the end in the story? These five died without any attainment to enlightenment due to starvation, and reborn in different planes which are happy. And then these five, uh, you know, uh, you know, uh, were reborn in our Buddha's time, and became monks with extraordinary qualities. Let me tell you these five monks. They are identical. Those five people who died without eating anything and with meditation were Pukkusati, one of them, and Daruchirya, and then Dabbamalla, Kumarakasama, and Sabya Vasama. These are the five monks who started their training at the time of the Buddha Kassapa with such effort and vigor. So these five monks are extraordinary in the Dharma. Each of them showed very nice qualities and special powers. If I take Kumara Kassapa, Venerable Kumara Kassapa, uh, was able to do some miracle that other monks could not do. He was able to, you know, he was able to light off his finger by his mental will. It doesn't mean that he burned his finger, but through psychic power, he was able to make his this finger a torch, a flashlight, and went to different places that other monks could not go without a material torch or whatever. So, and then Dabbamalla was actually, his mother died when he was in the womb, and she was cremated. She was being cremated, and everybody saw that the boy is falling down from the mother's body, and while the fire is going to increase in the in the cremation. So then he was taken by the king, and the name is given according to the situation. Dabba means the fire in Pali, and Malla means the king's surname. So he also was able to practice the apodhatu into highest extent, and it is the only monk who attained parinirvana, and without any residue of even ashes was not found, because he is the one who practiced apo kasina in tejo kasina into the highest extent. So you know about Daruchirya, you know about the other monk Daruchirya and Pukkusati. They were extraordinary in understanding them. So friends, Pukkusati was such so that he was recognized by the Buddha as a special person even before they met each other, and that's why the Buddha paid a special attention. I just want to add here something. This kind of encounters shows that that the Buddha, spent a great deal of time and energy to teach these people. For example, being the Buddha, he does not want to go to such distance to welcome a particular one person who is going to enter into the order. But the Buddha knew that this person has developed qualities like Indriya. And if this person needs his support, the Buddha's support, and at the same time, if they found out that this person is going to end his life by different karma, he might be going and helping any particular person. So I think this sutta is another examples about the Buddha's special attention. There are such instances in the teaching that the Buddha went for that particular person. Even if there is one person who understands the Dharma in a huge gathering, he would deliver the Dharma. That is how the Buddha's help is going on. If people develop Shraddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panya into an extent, an enlightenment stage is absorbed. So these are some of the highlighting points of the story of Pukkusati. So now, if you look at the sutta, the conversation is going on between the Buddha and Pottabhagava. Then when the Buddha entered into the area where Pukkusati was early station, the Buddha knew that this person is really special, and he was meditating. Both great individual, of course, Buddha is our teacher, and we know how the Buddha is. But when another person does the similar thing, you see, it is really special. So the Buddha knew that this person is really special, and he was meditating, keeping his body erect. And the Buddha also started his meditation. This is how usually saint or the arahants or similar to arahants behave. Even if they come together, they are not going to talk unnecessarily. How about if average people come together, they would talk about trade, politics, sports, and this and that, and they are not going to do such things at all. But the Buddha started his meditation for nothing. That is the way the enlightened beings always behave. And Pukkusati, as a person, to be an enlightened person, shows his skills, and the Buddha thought that this person is really remarkable. Actually, he knew about it earlier. So then, after some time, the Buddha started the conversation, thinking that this clansman conducts himself in a way that inspires confidence. Suppose I were to question him, so he asked the Venerable Pukkusati. The sutta is saying Venerable Pukkusati. It is fine, because still he is not considered a monk. According to the story, he ordained himself. And if you go to Google and by the name of Pukkusati, and you could find one or two pictures how he was starting his trip to Savatthi and Magadha from his country, and people were crying because he was a very good, very exemplary king for the countrymen. And then you may also find another picture how he was in the Potter's Bhagava's place. He himself ordained, therefore, the sutta tells Venerable Pukkusati, under whom have you gone forth? Because who is your teacher? Whose Dhamma do you profess? That is the Buddha's statement. Friends, there is the recluse Gautama, in the son of the Sakyan, who went forth from a Sakyan clan. Now a good report of that blessed Gautama has been spread to this effect. So I think no need to go on each paragraph there, because you know what it is. So it is interesting to see that even Pokkusati knew about the normal reputation about the Buddha. Itipiso Bhagava Arahan Samma Sambuddha. The Buddha is Arahan, fully enlightened, and he has this kind of behavior, this kind of knowledge, and he has practiced all the dharmas. Therefore, his wisdom is so and so much, and such qualities of the Buddha are known to Pukkusati. So then, as you say, Buddha's question, do you recognize him? If you see me, no. And then the Buddha thought that I should teach this person dharma, so that he would understand the dharma. Bhikkhu, because he physically, Bhikkhu was a bhikkhu. You know that you cannot be a monk of your own. It is a lineage, and if you want to become a monk, you should find a higher ordained monk, and then according to the later Vinaya rules added by the Buddha himself, not only one monk should be there. Therefore, at least there should be 4 monks to make somebody ordained. So you cannot be a monk despite the knowledge of the Dharma and the Vinaya you practice, still you cannot become a monk on your own. That is the rule. So there is, however, Buddha used the word bhikkhu here because he is a mendicant. He is a kind of religious person now. I'm going to teach you the Dharma. Listen and attend closely to what I shall say. Yes, friend. So the Pukkusati used the word friend. Then the Buddha started off saying, I'm going to give you a summarized version here. Buddha is explaining about an average individual. Here we see that normal person consists of six elements and 6 bases of contact and 18 type of mental exploration. So the average normal person consists of these 3 categories: 6 elements, 6 bases of contact, and 18 type of mental exploration or investigation. So Buddha explained these 6 categories and also 18 If you look at them closely and deeply, you can see that they are very true and fundamental of all living beings, not only humans. And if you pay attention to the third one, 18 type of mental exploration, that is how our mind always work in the Kama Loka. So we always think about anything come from 5 senses. That's how the 6 sense basically consist of. And we are looking for happiness, we are looking for joy, we are looking for pleasurable thing. Over the course of looking for that, we may experience unpleasant things, and time to time we experience the middle one as well. So that we are living in this so-called things all the time. So that explaining that manopavichara, the Pali word is manopavichara, our mind is always surrounding in these 3 things, and it means that that's all our mind works if our mind is a normal mind. So the physical body and also the mind is being explained here in a greater sense. 6 type of elements. Not only the body is explained in the fundamental truth, with the consciousness as the 6th element of the first category, it is been explained the mind as well into a certain extent. And then the feeling is being explained. Say 6 classes of contact means the place where the feeling, perception, are born, so that it is linked to the second foundation of the four foundation of mindfulness, Vedana, and the first one is the body itself, the material things. And then the scholars are trying to say that the Chittanupassana and Dhammanupassana are really explained with the 18 type of mental exploration. So these are all, interpretation which are very helpful for us to understand the Dhamma. Anyway, in the first category, the Buddha explained the person in such a way, and then Buddha is telling us about the four foundation. This four foundation is not the foundation we found in the Satipatthana. In the Satipatthana, we have four foundation, and they are all to develop sati and virya and also wisdom. So, but here, these four foundation is about the Arahant, is about the one who has already gone. And when you go into details of the four foundation here, Chatu Adhisthana, you find that they are speaking about the enlightened person. So that is one analysis. And the other one is, if you understand the 6 elements, 6 bases of contact, and the 18 type of mental exploration, exactly as the Buddha said, you are following the first one and the second one and also the third one, and you of course have the fourth one. Let me tell you this again in different ways. If you understand your mind and body in such a way as Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta says, you are going to have first Aditthana, second Aditthana, third Aditthana, and fourth Aditthana here. One should not neglect wisdom, should preserve truth. Before that, I just want to read the previous paragraph. Bhikkhu, this person has 4 foundations. So it was said, and with reference to what was this said, they are the foundation of wisdom, the foundation of truth, the foundation of relinquishment, and the foundation of peace. So Satchaditthana, Panyaditthana, Satchaditthana, and then foundation of relinquishment, Chagaditthana, and the Upasamaditthana, foundation of peace. So one should not neglect wisdom. If you understand yourself as 6 elements, 6 bases or 6 indriya, and if you understand your mind in your normal mind, I mean your average, normal, typical mind is living in such a way, that is called wisdom. If you realize that your body is made up of 4 elements, and then you have 5th element as space and consciousness as also an element, and then go to the 6 bases, so you are putting a right thinking into application. That is your wisdom. And if you preserve it further and try to live under that special teaching, that is practicing the truth, and you are having truth in your life, and that is also taking you to relinquishment. Chaga is not tyaga in Sinhala or Pali. Chaga means letting go of. Chaga means disenchantment. It happens to a person when he or she understands the whole truth, and he's moving from mundane things to supramundane. Chaga happens when only one does that. Then the peace of mind, upasamadhisthana, we have to keep the thought in mind that we should always find peace and happiness, not through attachment, not through craving, but through letting go of craving. The one who decided this sutta for today's discussion is Vimal, and he was pointing out me personally through WhatsApp that Pindapata Parisuddhi Sutta in Majjhima Nikaya is a good sutta for understanding Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta. Yes, we can take that sutta for our next discussion once we finish this one. And if you look at Pindapata Parisuddhi Sutta, it tells us to reflect the Dharma in such a way very similar to what a monk, a nun, a bhikkhuni, or lay person should do. Venerable Sariputta was meditating, and after meditation, he met with the Buddha, and the Buddha was asking question, your complexion, your behavior is so serene, and what were you doing prior to our meeting? And Venerable Sariputta was telling that I was having sunyata vihara, which means practicing emptiness, and it was appreciated, and tells a series of practicing sunyata with regard to whatever you have in your mind when you go in Pindapata. For example, if you go somewhere, perhaps mindfully or unmindfully, so you come back to your own place, and now you reflect where you go and what you thought, especially when your mind went to attach to certain seeing, hearing, tasting, and so forth. And if you find out some moments you had negligence and attachment, so you think about the impermanence of those mentalities you had. For example, a bhikkhu goes on Pindapata to the village, and he must be able to apply Sangvara 100% in order to protect his mind from seeing, hearing, and tasting. Unfortunately, this monk was having some dosa or rag by seeing some seeing. So, however, he managed to come back to the monastery, and now if he does what Buddha asks us to do in Pindapati Parisuddha Sutta, he should reflect that moment where he failed and try to close the hole of his mind where he failed and what he failed, and by doing that he's going to get joy and happiness out of his reflection. And if he found out that I went on Pindapata today to the village and I did not find any mistake in my behavior, in my mind, and nothing happened with Indriya Asangvara, so that made him joy also. So live with that joy throughout the day. So like that, we can find many aspects of reflection in Pindapati Parisuddhi in that particular sutta, and it is relevant to this sutta also. Why? Because the Buddha asks us to reflect, or the word with the use pachavekkhana, think about wisely that this body is made up of 6 elements, and this body is nothing but the 6 senses and bases, and this mind is nothing but going here and there, looking for pleasure, joy, and suffering, and dukkha, adukkha, sukha, and so forth. And if you analyze both body and mind in such a way, you just find only kind of two physical and mental processes, what we call mental phenomena, dharma. There you slowly stepping onto netang mama neso hamasmi nemeso attati. When you analyze your body and mind in that neutral point way, you do not find you in you. You do not find anything precious, anything valuable in you, because you see yourself as elements, as only ayatan and so forth. I'm trying to actually give you summarized version of the sutta, but this sutta is such a wonderful sutta to read word by word. Unfortunately, we do not find time for that. That's why I like you to read and understand more. This class is only for giving some tips of reflection, and if there is any unclear places, we try our best to clear it. Not only myself, there are capable people here who explain things well, and with that support we are trying to pinpoint some important points of the sutta. So it is interesting to see that each elements are explained in the sutta. Let me draw your attention to the first one. How does one not neglect wisdom? So the Buddha asks us to keep the wisdom, give the theory of wisdom in mind without forgetting it. That is a very good advice. Sometimes we forget wisdom. Sometimes we forget the part of wisdom. We sometimes forget that everything is impermanent. We tend to forget, and we forget the three characteristics of existence. We forget that we made by 4 elements or 6 elements. We forget that we are a collection of various materials and so forth, because this world is with sensual pleasures always, and it's provocative of lust, hatred, ignorance, and so on, so that we tend to forget. But the Buddha's invitation to Pukkasati is not to forget wisdom. That is how one progresses from a normal level to supreme level. And Buddha explained how one should not forget or neglect wisdom. There are these 6 elements: the earth elements, Patavi Dhatu, Apo Dhatu, Tejo Dhatu, Vayo Dhatu, Akasa Dhatu, and Vijnana Dhatu. What bhikkhus is the earth element? The earth elements may be either internal or external. What is the internal earth elements? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is solidified, and clung to. That is, out of 32 body parts, 20 of them are earth elements. If you look at the list of body parts in the particular Manasikara formula, you see head, hair, body hair, teeth, nails, and so on. Up to 20, you can find something solid body parts. They are all Patavi Dhatu. So how do you recognize internal and external elements? Sometimes, the air over here, this is an example. The air over here in front of your nose is external air elements. Once you breathe in, and when the air touches the nostril, and it becomes internal. Suppose you have a glass of water, and that is external apodhatu, and once you take the water into your mouth, and it becomes internal apodhatu. Suppose you eat rice and curry for your dinner. I'm sorry to say this, because there's something filthy, something unpleasant when you say this. So now the plate of rice and curry is external Patavi Dhatu, and when you take it in, it's called internal Patavi Dhatu. Suppose you go to washroom and remove them. When you urinate and defecate, they become again external. So the state of internal and external things could change sometime depending on the situation. So you drink water now, and it was external apodhatu, and it becomes internal apodhatu. But when you go to washroom and pee, it becomes external apodhatu again. So when you come to the core of the Buddha's teaching, especially what we need to reflect, there shouldn't be unpleasant feeling when we talk about the body and all these things. But the very important thing is the understanding the different status of elements. So here we see Patavi Dhatu internally and externally. An important practice for us here is that this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. So that should be practiced. When you take a plate of rice, if you practice the Dharma according to the Atavibhanga Sutta, oh, it is wonderful mango curry. I was waiting to eat this. How nice this yellow rice and jasmine rice. And that's not the way you appreciate it. If you follow the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta exactly as it is, you may consider they are just Patavi Dhatu. Perhaps with Apo Dhatu. And when you drink a tasty tea, it is Apo Dhatu for you. And when you see a beautiful garland or ring or watch or whatever, it is prominently Patavi Dhatu, but other Dhatu as well. So your mind is speaking about in such a way when you find out something valuable, like even when you find out something invaluable, you put this investigation. But how we do now, how we do in a normal setting, we embrace the convention very much and let those hindrances come in. That's why the attaining Nibbana is very difficult for many people in today's world. But if we are able to put the Dharma in such a way as this Sutta tells us, also Pindapata Parisuddhi Sutta tells us, the Nibbana is, is not that difficult for us, because the path of Nirvana is designed in such a way. When you reflect, this is not mine, this I am not, and this is not myself, it helps dissolve Sakkaya Ditthi. It helps diminish the power of unwholesomeness in us. Ignorance is gone with this practice. Sakkaya Ditthi is gone with this practice because you are putting the right thing into application. So we see this, that we analyze the Patavi Dhatu internally and externally and put the right, Dharma there. This is not mine. Netang neto hamasmi nameso attati. Netang mama nameso hamasmi nameso attati. This is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. It's not only some words. You see it from your own experience. Janatu and Passato. When one sees it thus as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted. Nibbida is arising with this practice. What is Nibbida? When you analyze Patavidha to internally and externally as not mine, I'm not there, and you do not consider yourself, self is there, you are not going to enjoy anything related to Patavidhatu as pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral. That's what Nibbida means. Nibbida, the Pali word, means nirvindane. You are not going to enjoy anything as before because you see the truth. When you suppose you find a very beautiful person in front of you and it's really attracting, the complexion, the eyes, and everything is beautiful, and you cannot take your eyes away from that particular person. So a normal person might say, wow, and it's a lifetime achieved to see this man, this woman, and so forth. But for you who practice this type of meditation, elements on elements, would say that this is only Patavidhatu or Apodhatu, whatever dhatu it is, and it is, I should not attach to it, and it is only something subject to decay and subject to change and so forth. There you disenchanted. The other person might cry and go to get a signature of that particular person, might take selfie and so forth, but you behind the scene analyze everything as only elements. So that's an example of disenchantment, nibbida. So nibbida comes because of Yata Bhuta Jnana Darsana. Here you don't find that word here, but it is Yata Bhuta Jnana Darsana. You see the truth as it is. One becomes disenchanted with the earth elements and makes the mind dispassionate towards the earth element. So dispassion also arises right there, because with disentachment, the next quality you experience is dispassion, no virag. You are not going to have passion there. You are not going to have nandi raga there, because you see the truth of it. So likewise, with regard to water element, fire element, air element, and space element, and consciousness as the sixth element, you do the same thing. Very important thing is, this is not mine, this I am not, and this is not myself. Keep that in mind. With regard to six elements, this is the thing we practice. Practicing, not neglecting the wisdom. This is practicing panya, first foundation of a noble person. So I think it's 8, so 10 minutes to 9. We can keep this sutta for the next week's discussion also. If I am available and if you are available, so well, let's have a discussion on what we already said. Yes, I can see 2 hands raised. First, I will give the opportunity to Vimal from Sri Lanka, since I saw him raised hands first.
Bhante, I need to better understand 2 sentences in one particular paragraph in this sutta, which says, his deliverance being founded upon truth is unshakable. For that it is false bhikkhu, which has a deceptive nature, and that is true, which has an undeceptive nature, nibbana. Does it mean that nibbana is different from arahantship?
I think you send it to me too. Let me get that special. Do you know which paragraph it is? For the
That
moment?
is, there are no numbers in this sutta. This is after explaining all the. If I may quote the Pali text, Bhante, it says, Tita akupa hoti chandi bhikkhu musayang dhamma mosa dhamma. The mosa dhamma is used to explain the arahantship, I believe. And tansachang amosa dhammang is nibbana.
I'm with now Pali version of the discourse. Now I'm
366.
Sorry?
I don't know. In the text I have, number 366, Pali version.
366, okay. Okay, I got it. Tassa saha vimutti satche cita akuppa hoti. So, it is said from the beginning of that. Actually, for others, notice, I would say that this has not been covered yet in the discourse with today's discussion.
Yes,
but anyway, we can take it. If we go from the beginning of that para, it says that once you attain to enlightenment, it is imperturbable. It could not be changed. And when you attain to enlightenment, your mind is associating or having imperturbability for certainty. I mean, that mind is not changed at all with any situation. That is why the arahantship is called akuppa ceto vimutti. Tangi bhikkhu musayang mosa dhammang tang satchang yang amosa dhammang nibbanang. So the before the attainment to arahantship, everything is subject to change. Now, let's forget about the Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami state. Let's say that a person is going to attain full enlightenment directly at once, and before his attainment, anything he was doing, he is not yet certain. His mind could change. His mind is not attained to imperturbability. So before with if we keep the arahantship as the line here, before that everything is mosa dhammang. That means related to or relevant to ignorance, relevant to attachment, craving, and so forth. But once you made sure that you are an arahant, and that is called nirvana, and it is away from any ignorance and other state. So the point here is that tang satchang yang amosa dhammang nibbanang tasmayavang sorry, you have to stop there. Tang satchang yang amosa dhammang nibbanang. If there is any state that is imperturbable, unchanged, and could not be provoked, that is called nirvana. And that is the truth. The truth is nothing but the nirvana itself. So everything else is mosa dhamma. Tang satchang yang amosa dhamma nibbana. Amosa dhamma is another term for nirvana. Mosa dhamma means
This mosa dhamma, sorry.
Yeah. Go ahead.
The mosa dhamma term he used to refer to the arahantship, I thought.
Amosa dhamma is the term for arahantship. You see
permit,
that Musa,
if you permit me to read the singular translation of this particular Pali text,
it is confusing.
ඔහුගේ ඒ අරහත් ඵල විමුක්තිය පරමාර්ථ සත්‍යයේ පීඨියා කැළඹිය නොහැකි වූවා වේ. මහණ එයද වෙනස් වන ස්වභාවය ඇත්තේය. නැසෙන ස්වභාවය ඇත්තේය. නොනැසෙන ස්වභාවය නිර්වාණයක් වේද එයම සත්‍යයි. So the arahantship is නැසෙන ස්වභාවය සහ වෙනස් වන ස්වභාවය according to the single translation.
I don't think this single translation doesn't provide the proper picture of what the Buddha said in Pali.
Yes, Bhante.
Yeah, this is what, Tanghi Bhikkhu, they are monk, Musa yang Mosa Dhammang. Anything untrue is called Mosa Dhamma. Anything untrue is ignorant. Anything Musa is Mosa Dhamma. Tang satchang yang amosa dhamma nibbanang. Anything true is nirvana. So the Buddha distinguishes what is true and untrue there.
So just to conclude, so arahantship and nibbana are not two different things. Am I right?
They are the same thing. Same thing.
Same thing. Thank you,
Bhante. One
Bhante.
attain to the element of nirvana.
Thank you, Bhante.
So if you look at the nirvana, there you see the arahants. And if you look at the arahant, there you see the nirvana. Of course, you need to be an arahant to say who are the arahants and also nirvana. And we have the similar thing here. If you look at the dharma, you see the arahants and also the Buddha. And if you look at, if you understand the Buddha and the arahantship, you see the whole dharma. So that's how we can explain it.
I think the singular translation is the one which confused me. But in the English translation, I see for that is false. Bhikkhu which has a deceptive nature. What is deceptive nature? Which one? Deliverance being founded upon truth is unshakable. So it is referred to arahantship there. Then again it says false and deceptive.
I'm just finding out the English
I'm sorry. I may be taking too much time on this now. Maybe we can discuss it at the next one.
Yeah, his deliverance being founded upon truth, his deliverance is unshakable. For that is Bhikkhu which has a deceptive nature. Yeah. Yeah, if there is a deceptive nature in our mind, that is false. And that is true, which has an undeceptive nature. If there is deceptive nature, that is wrong, that is ignorance. If there is not deceptive nature in our mind, that is called nirvana. In simple form, when there is greed, hatred, and ignorance, there we don't find an iota of nirvana, a fraction of nirvana. But when there is no ignorance, signs of ignorance, signs of greed, signs of hatred, and all kinds of three roots of akusala, there you have nirvana. Momentary nibbana, we talk about the momentary nibbana too. Like if you suppress any signs of greed, hatred, and ignorance, that is called momentary nibbana. That's why jhana is so important
That
for
is
us.
when you are in a jhana.
Yeah, because you sense of nirvana into a certain extent with jhanic experience, because you cut off the ways of five hindrances, and it is a clear message to the root causes of suffering, greed, hatred, and ignorance, that we are going to attack you as well. So that nirvana, sense of nirvana is there always, but it's not permanent, it's not done yet. So anything deceptive is called mosadhamma. Anything not deceptive is relevant to nirvana. That is what it means.
Yes, Bhante.
Thank you very much. And now we go to Dr. Pial.
If you have time, so it's just a comment of the sutra. Like I think they just Buddha is giving lots of the basic raw material for us here to figure out. For example, he putting like say for a bicycle, we don't know how to ride it, but he putting all the pieces of the bicycle, the tires, the wheel, the tubes, handle, everything, and then you figure out. But this Pukusati, I think from previous previous birth, he probably had deep contemplation, so it was easy for him to put the bicycle together and how to ride it. At least you could get rid of 5 fetters. I think he was anagami at the end. So I think it's important for us to also understand. I know these elements are very. It makes sense. 6 senses. That's where everything sabbam. That's where everything starts, right? And then how? But I think we also need to bring the other sutras. I mean, in practice, to figure out how these all connect at the end. For example, I'm seeing you, and my eye consciousness and eye contact. I mean, to talk about the contact there. So eye contact, and then from there, the feeling, whatever you feel, you perceive. Whatever you perceive, you think about. Then the prapanya starts, the clinging, the attachment. So I think it's important one to contemplate, put all these pieces together, and start riding the bicycle at the end. Otherwise, all these becomes pieces. I know they are impermanent, suffering. You can contemplate on that, but again, it doesn't make sense unless you see it's really happening in you. How the cognitive process, in other words, how it all starts. Where do we cling? Where do we suffer? How not to cling and let go of the suffering. Does it make sense, Bhante?
Indeed, what you said is really true. Yes, Buddha has given us, not Pukusati. Actually, Buddha knew that Pukusati was able to understand this and make everything connected together. But for us, it doesn't happen because we are not like Pukusati. We do not, sorry to say this, we do not have that capacity like Pukusati. Otherwise, we might be at least Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami by hearing this. So I'm sure that this is not the first time we take this sutta into discussion, and perhaps this is the not the first time you read it, and other sutta. So we are not in that category. That's my simple assumption. Anyway, what you said is right. The Buddha gives us all kinds of basic information for us to make the whole story out of it, because pacchattam veditabbo vinyohiti. The wise people should understand the Dharma from their own experience, from their own mental and physical phenomena. It is their responsibility. Look at the Buddha's behavior there. Why did the Buddha, step forward to welcome Pukusati? Because he saw that this person has become a bhikkhu under my name for me, and Buddha could be able to read his faculties, so that he was going to help him. Otherwise, the Buddha had so many people on the way, even Bhagga. For us, we might think that we should help Bhagga also with some sort of Dhamma, but the Buddha did not, deliver Dhamma to Bhagga. So it is our duty to practice Dhamma, to be able to develop the Pancha Indriya, Saddha, Virya, Sati, Samadhi, Panyas, and get ready for final, flight. So I think what you said is true, really important. If you have knowledge about Dharma, take them to clarify this kind of basic information into a fullest and complete one. Because Pukusa, the direction of the Buddha's delivering is Pukusati, and Pukusati started his training way before this life, so that he was qualified to absorb this kind of deep teaching. But if you are not in that category, take the support from other monks and other lay people, from reading, from discussion, and from different but similar discourses and so on. What you said is relevant and applicable. That's what we need to do. And you know what? I personally think that I'm not worrying about not being an enlightened person at all, because I see the conditions in my mind and everybody else's mind, because we are on the process of completing our nirvana. I'm not saying that about my personal gaining, but what I always meaning here is that we should not be worrying about at the time we attain nirvana, because things happen accordingly. When practice become perfect, or when our practice culminate into certain extent, there would be the respective results such as Sotapanna, Sakadagami, Anagami, and Arahantship. So when you know what is going on in the mind and body in line with Dhamma, you are not worrying about. This is what the Buddha said in the simile of the hen and the eggs. The mother chicken sit on the eggs and incubate these eggs into a extent every day to make the chickens inside the eggs. And at some point, the grown chicken break the cell and come out. The mother chicken never sit and wish when these babies come out, and I'm waiting to kiss them, and I'm waiting to show them how to find food. No, nothing happened like that. Having given this example, the Buddha asks us to practice Dhamma in every means and get qualified for attaining enlightenment. So yes, just like Pindapata Parisuddha Sutta, Indriya Bhavana Sutta, and other suttas where the important Dhamma elements are explained, we should get the help from these suttas. And very important thing, as you said, yes, we need to train our mind to accept the fact that we are not one entity. We are made up of different body parts, elements, processes, mental and physical, and that's who we are. And when you see the whole picture in such a way, you yourself decide not to attach to anything. You did it before, but now you see the whole picture, so that you are moving away from attachment. You are moving away from hatred. You are moving away from fighting. You are moving away from various unwholesome opportunities, statements, occasions, feeling. And when you when you become a matured person on this Indriya Sangvara, mindfulness training, and other principles, you feel what you need to do. You feel joy. You feel confidence on what you are doing. That is a huge gaining, actually. So if you come to this level, you are not going to give up the training. You are not going to do any other things except this training. So that is the momentum you all should find out. Actually, when you find out that kind of taste in Dhamma, that is called Maggang Sanjayati. That is the place where you find the noble path clearly, which is actually the moment you knock in the door of Sotapanna or Arya Mag. So Buddha has clearly said that how one become Arya Savaka. If you want to become Arya Savaka, you have to accept the Buddha and Dharma in such a way so you become slowly a noble. You turn, you say goodbye to your Putujjana state and become a Sappurisa. You enter into Sappurisa Bhumi. There you have the designation called Saddhanusari and Dhammanusari. Actually, when you consider you as 6 elements, 6 bases of contact and mental exploration, nothing but just these, elements, you have been, stepping into Sappurisa Bhumi where you resonate with Saddhanusari and Dhammanusari state. In other words, you are in the Sotapanna Magga. It doesn't mean you sustain to Sotapanna. You might be directly attaining full enlightenment, depending on the power of your training. So that is how we need to gather knowledge and experience and give some good try on the training.
Thank you,
Thank
Bhante.
you. Yes. So we'll let open the floor. We would like to others to talk also if others have concern about the sutta. I think this is a fast track. We take the sutta and try our best to cover important information as we think, and you may not be getting the whole picture of the suttas. That's why we need to take 1 hour or 2 hours for a week and read the sutta. From my side, I sometimes send the sutta at the last minute. I'm sorry about that because, I also think about which sutta I should select for this week. And if I spend a couple of hours in thinking about different suttas because I know your knowledge of them, and if I take this sutta, you may not be taking any new information. Then I might go to another sutta, so spend some time. Then I get other program and people come. So that's why I usually become late to send you the notification. Anyway, like Vimal, like Dr. Vyal, like Chandranina, you can inform me about interesting suttas for discussion and start discussion. Please be compassionate for those people who have not who have not read many suttas, because in selecting suttas, in suggesting suttas, have some compassion of them as well, because they might click on to the Dhamma if the suttas are simply going from the very beginning of the training to the higher level so that it is easy to follow and something like that. But this kind of deep suttas are really interesting too. So we hang on to this sutta for next week. If I will let you know about my availability. Next sutta discussion would be on 3rd of December. Yes, I'm available. So we'll cover the next part of the Dhatuvibhanga Sutta next week and try our best to give some other analysis also. And if you find interesting connection to this sutta from any Nikaya, Diga Nikaya, Samyutta Nikaya, Anguttara Nikaya, or even Kuddaka Nikaya, please share with us. So we would like to, connect them and make the discussion meaningful. And look at this, the section where Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta is recorded, it's really deep. It's Vibhanga Varga. In that section, everything is categorized into smaller particles and parts and try to give us the whole picture of something we attach to, something we hang on to. So the idea of, yes.
Madhupindika Sutra might be a good one because it kind of connects everything. I think this is a key sutra where it's all the elements coming together, how it really works. But that's something.
Yeah, everybody heard about that. And if you have time, read that discourse and come with that knowledge as well. Madhupindika Sutta, I think some of the participants have already read it, but it's worthwhile to read it again. Madhupindika Sutta, by the title, it says honey ball, honey. If you can feel the Dhamma just like honey, it means you have tasted the Dhamma very much. Dhammosada samannati etang pivata bhikko. In some elsewhere, the Buddha said, this Dhamma medicine, drink it in order to cure the sansaric illness. So, Madhupindika Sutta is a very clear indication of what the Dharma is. So, that is one sutta. And anything, as you said, Dhatu Sangyutta of Sangyutta Nikaya, where every sutta deals with the elements, is a long one and a long section, but for the long run, you can read it. Perhaps you find similarities of each discourse. Fine, read it, because reading the same thing over and over again makes you very patient one. If you look at the discourses in one section in Sangyutta Nikaya, the first sutta is quite similar to the second one, and the second one is quite similar to the third, and so on. You go on and on with the same information. But the place of the deliverance is different, and the people who are listening to the discourses would be different. By reading them, you practice patience. In our normal life, we need something new always, which is a craving. But reading the same thing with patience develop patience and also perseverance. And when something come to us over and over, the level of sustenance of that particular fact would be very much. In other words, when you read same thing over and over, it becomes very familiar to us. So that's why reading same thing again and again is really important for us. So thank you very much for the suggestion. And if you do not have anything, I might end today's Sutta discussion by transferring merits to everyone and sharing merits with everyone here. I want to add this, that something could be understood if we read the English translation with the Pali and also Sinhala. Sometimes Sinhala, as Vimal said, Sinhala translation is not giving us the full picture, because I see the electronic version of the Sinhala translation, there are no clarity in that. But when you look at the Pali, if you know the Pali, the clarity is there with the full stop and colons and things like that. And English one is also somewhat clear. So if you are able to read Pali, get the Pali one, English one, and Sinhala one, and read. Sometimes it is interesting that even if you read the whole version of Sutta, you may not be able to understand, because through reading, the maximum level of understanding you go, in my view, is 15%, 20%, because it is knowledge. So if you do not have that essence in practice, you may not be able to get the full version of the Dharma in it. So that is a kind of note for you when you read these courses. So if there is nothing to discuss about the Dhatu Vibhanga Sutta today, I'm going to end today's Sutta discussion. Thank you very much for your participation. Thank you very much for your question and concern and contribution. They are very helpful for us and everyone here. And my part here is to provide you some analysis, as I understand, without harming the message of the sutta. And I think I did it with open mind. And if there is no clarity on what I said, you can ask questions, send me emails, or through WhatsApp you can connect with me. I try my best to redefine them and try to read some other discourses if I am unable to understand your questions and concern and dharma as well. And I am very open to get the help from some senior monks as well, and senior, there are people who know the dharma very much in lay community as well. So I go to them and discuss the dharma. So that's how we go on and continue our Dharma practice, and I invite you to do the same thing. So today, with this 1 hour and 20 minutes, we were able to dive into the beautiful teachings of the Buddha for our morality development, and concentration and wisdom. And the merits out of that be with you and with your family and children and everyone. And may you be well, happy, and peaceful. May these blessings be with you until we meet next week with the same discourse. I wish you, enlightenment, and your relatives who passed away as well, and all the divine beings and other living beings. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.